The desire for financial security and time flexibility, but the path to it whilst keeping a day job is really daunting. Can it be done?
I think people struggle with taking the first step.
People can be made redundant, companies can fold, economies can go up and down.
I'm often amazed that people say investing is too risky. And I'm like, not doing it is the biggest risk.
We always perform best when we're happy and not stressed out. So taking control of your own financial security, you feel more in control, and therefore your corporate employer gets the best out of you. Before we jump in, let's tackle one of the biggest hurdles for property investors: finding the best buy-to-let locations for top returns. Over the years, we've helped countless individuals pinpoint the most profitable locations and maximise their rental income. To make it easier for you, we've put together a free guide to buy-to-let hotspots for 2025, designed specifically for you to understand the market, stay ahead of the trends, and it even includes a list of our top 10 locations in the UK. Get it now for free by clicking the link in the description below and start building your property portfolio today. Welcome to This Property Life, your go-to podcast for all things property investment. Today, we're diving into the property freedom formula, how you can earn on your terms while keeping your day job. And I'm joined by my very good friend and fellow investor, James Horgan, who's been doing exactly that for a few years now. So welcome, James. James, the desire for financial security and time flexibility, I feel it's really there in the UK amongst the population, but the path to it whilst keeping a day job is really daunting. Can it be done?
Well, I would say yes, sir. And I would say, I'm proof of the pudding, really. So, yeah, I've been investing in property whilst holding down a corporate job for many years now. And I guess, I think, so very much so, it can definitely be done. I think people struggle with taking the first step and making the initial change or switch.
Yeah.
But it can definitely be done.
You are proof, aren't you, that it is absolutely possible, but obviously it does take a little bit of effort. But, why did you even want to add this into your already busy life? You've got a great job, you do work full time. You've now got a young family as well. I know that obviously you started investing before the young family came along, but what motivated you to take on the side hustle?
Yeah, well, I guess I've always had this innate fear, that I need to be responsible for myself, and ultimately the world can change, and I can't rely on my employer. It's the what ifs. What if the world changes, or what's the worst case scenario? Will I still be okay? So I've always had this basic, I guess, fear. I'm not sure where that has come from. Probably a childhood thing, or I don't know, but some trauma somewhere maybe. But I've always, so the option of having passive income, for my own peace of mind, that's really important. And I guess, as my careers are stressful, right? And, careers ebb and flow. And, whilst I really enjoy my job at the moment, that wasn't always the case. So, it's been great to have the option, basically, always in the background.
I think you're right that there's a lot of outside control when you're in a corporate environment, that really you're just a bit player in it. And, people can be made redundant, companies can fold, economies can go up and down. And when you're within that corporate whirlwind of a job, it's great when you're riding the waves high, but they can dump you out as well, can't they?
Yeah, very much so. And, there's been many times in my career where, like you were saying, riding the wave, and then all of a sudden the company gets sold, there's a new management team, and you go from being golden boy to, doorman or T-boy, So, that happens. That's the ebb and flow of a career, and, the politics of corporates and organizations. When business gets difficult, it's every man for himself. And sometimes
they're expendable, aren't they?
Yeah. You're ultimately just a number. And, even if the employer that I'm currently working for been with them for over 10 years, but we've just come off the back of, a big round of redundancies. They weren't really expected. There's a real shift in the economy, which is really impacting the business. So, I'm able to work knowing that I've got a parachute, basically.
Yeah, it's having that backup plan, isn't it? Of just making you feel kind of secure in yourself, knowing that if things happen outside of your control, you've got something in the background that, okay, might not from day one replace your salary, but you're certainly working towards that. And hey, if both things go brilliantly well, then that's the gravy. And at some point you can retire early or, take your hours down or keep working and just enjoy an amazing retirement when you finally get around to that. I mean, not everyone wants to retire. They kind of like working and feeling fulfilled.
I've definitely, my mindset around that has definitely shifted. But also, I think, just on one point there, I'm often amazed that people say investing is too risky. I'm not going to do it because I think it's too risky. And I'm like, not doing it is the biggest risk. You're just completely vulnerable to one option in your life. If that goes, then what? So I completely don't understand that, first of all. But also, I think I'm better at my job by doing my property business because, the discipline and the commitment that I show to that filters back into my job. I'm able to enjoy my job more because I know it's not all riding on that, or if my job is stressful, I've got a different perspective around it, knowing that I've got other options. So it's actually, there's cross benefits. I'm much better at my job than I would be if I hadn't decided to, grow in property, if you like.
That's really interesting, actually, because it's well-being, isn't it? So, we always perform best when we're happy and not stressed out. So we sort of thrive rather than survive. And you're actually saying that by taking control of your own financial security and, your family's financial security, that you're feeling better, you feel more in control, and therefore your corporate employer gets the best out of you.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think ultimately what this whole experience forces you to do is basically to hold a mirror up to you and examine yourself in detail, because it's challenging. It's really challenging, and it's how you respond to those challenges. And ultimately, I think everyone needs to decide, are they going to be mindless or mindful, basically? Do you mindless eat all the time? Do you skip exercise? Who do you want to be? And are you willing to commit to being that person? And nobody's perfect. We all fall off the wagon and miss days, but have you got a path of commitment, basically, to grow as an individual, grow as a person? Or are you just, floating with the tides, floating through life, drifting through life, and not actually taking responsibility for the limited time that we have on this planet?
Do you know what? I think you will have hit a nerve there with quite a number of people with, are you going through mindlessly or mindfully? Because that is a big, big thing. And I think life gets so busy that we do get pulled along by the momentum of everything else around us. And you can wake up and it's like, 3-4 years ago, I thought I was going to do this and I still haven't got around to doing it. And you're like, well, will I? Won't I? And I think just having that clarity of knowing what you're going to do and take control of it is quite freeing as a concept.
Yeah, it's a really hard thing to do. And, it's something I'm continuing to do and evolving all the time. But, you do really, to be able to take a fresh perspective of yourself, an objective perspective, and really analyze, your weaknesses, how you behave, the things you're avoiding. It's challenging, but it's necessary, really.
Worth it and necessary, as you
yeah.
say. And the implications, I mean, you've already touched upon it. And, you know, people think it's a risk to go into property or, you know, other types of income generation outside of a PAYE corporate kind of a role. But, and you were like, that's mad. It's riskier not to. And I think, you know, people that don't explore alternative income streams, they really risk missing out on financial growth, independence. You know, they could feel financially restricted and have that anxiousness around it. And I guess ultimately, you know, you are able to pursue what really motivates you, where your passions lie, and, you know, you lead to being, you know, potentially unfulfilled. So it's a big risk, isn't it, of not doing this?
The risk of not doing is huge, and I can't get my head round. And I guess what you do then need to analyze is why you're not able to commit. What are you fearful of? Ultimately, what are you actually fearful of? And, you know, it may be that you're a perfectionist. You want everything to be perfect before you move forward. And, you know, I think that holds a lot of people back.
The market being perfect, or it could be your skills being perfect. And I guess, I mean, you know, I would counter both of those with the market's never going to be perfect.
I mean, the market's always perfect, Sarah. It's always perfect.
It's never going to be perfect to those guys that think too deeply, because they will analyze every single economic indicator, every report that comes through, and they'll read the bits that confirm what they think, which is it's not a good time to buy property. And of course, the best time to buy property, but much like planting a tree, was 20 years ago, but the next best time is today. Market conditions, we're not in this for the short term, we're in it for the long haul, which mean that market conditions will be the market conditions that you buy in, buy well, hold on, keep going for the whole process, and your future self will definitely thank you. So I am absolutely disputing that the market's not right. I think we can
100%
fair away, and it's gone. But what about them as individuals? What about them as individuals? And it's not right timing for them because of their skill set, perhaps?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately, again, it's back to mindset. If you've got a mindset to commit and take action and do that every day and accept you're not going to be perfect, that's how you learn, that's how you develop, that's how you grow. And it's that daily cadence, it's that daily commitment towards your goal, which leads to perfection. You know, if you look at Olympian, you know, they don't wait to be perfect to start at their sport. You know, they understand that you start at the bottom, you start with the first gym session, the first training session, and you grow and grow and grow. And, you know, you work with third parties, you work with mentors, you have a team around you to enable you to get better and better. And that's what it takes. But you've got to start. You've got to start. And it's simply that easy.
Yeah. And I think having that, I mean, you spoke about the, you know, an elite athlete, having coaches and people and a team. I think that community and that team is really important. It's something that we've definitely drawn on, you know, like we're friends from school days and decades ago, but in terms of property, we also, you know, thrive off each other's experiences, learn from each other, keep each other going, you know, hold each other accountable. And it's really important, isn't it, to have like-minded people around you?
So yeah, that's one thing I've definitely learned, because I did have a one-man band kind of a mindset. You know, the lone wolf out there and not really a team player. Maybe it's an ego thing, I don't know. But, you know, ultimately I've learned fully just the value of, you know, everyone actually can contribute. Everyone looks at a problem in a different way, and plus it's more enjoyable. It's so much more enjoyable if you're working with other people and you're connecting, you've got an accountability group, you know, it is inspiring. So yeah, the network is a huge part of it. And, you know, and ultimately you get to meet a whole new group of people that you wouldn't have, you know, been in contact with.
Well, you met your business partner in property through the network, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, property and business partner. Yeah, and again, he brings a mindset. And I know we viewed some properties recently. And I just saw massive. We viewed it together. I saw a massive problem. It was an old bank, and I'm like, Christ, that vault's going to cost a fortune to remove, kind of thing. I was seeing problems, and he was saying safety deposit box business. I'm like, that's genius, just someone else looking at the same opportunity or the same property or opportunity, completely different way.
Yeah.
And, we are, we're a long way down the line now in terms of making that work. And again, by having a team of professionals around us that can support us, we won't be in that business day to day. We will, that will run independently of us because, we need it to.
Yeah.
So
you're speaking there about viewing banks and, I think I know the project that you're talking about there, and it's not one that you'd start out on, is it? So, I mean, James has only really come to that sort of thing because he's done the hard yards for years prior to. So let's take it back a step, James, and in your corporate job as a younger pup than you are now, starting out with the property on the side as well, how did you get started? What sort of time did you allocate in your working week or your, just outside of your corporate job to actually make this happen?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, not a huge amount of time. And, we've all got holidays and, 4 or 5 weeks holidays that you can take every year. I would say I allocate time every day doing something and moving things forward. And it's normally the start of the day. So before my working day, between kind of 7:45 and 9 a.m., that's when I focus on moving those tasks forward. But yeah, in terms of working through and getting started in property and working out, doing the area research, once I understood, the strategy that I wanted to execute in terms of building my passive income, and then just being efficient with time. So once the area was fixed, having back-to-back viewings over 2 or 3 days, blocked out, committing to that, and then what's the follow-up? And, again, just allocating time each day to that follow-up. And because it's every day, it gathers its own momentum. If it's a once a month thing, it will never get done. It has to be at the very top of your mind.
Yeah.
All the time. And, and the flip side then around, raising money and, and effectively positioning yourself to investors, private investors that potentially want to invest, always seeing the opportunity to present your credentials as an investor and sharing the deals you're getting involved in and the opportunities. So
yes, it is. It's prioritizing your time and being disciplined, and I guess taking the opportunity when you can. So you spoke about holidays there, and I know that your investment area, when you've really ramped this up, has kind of switched from being more or less local to you to actually being a couple of hours away from you. So you've used your holidays and gone down there, on the way to somewhere else as well, haven't you? And there's all sorts
of islands. Or I use that for trips
exactly.
to stop off and it's 3-4 hours away in my investment area. But actually, that's an opportunity in itself because you can make a holiday of that. The place I've chosen, I chose one of the reasons because actually it's a beautiful part of the world as well. So there's lots of great places to visit around, and I normally stay in the city before, and and just enjoy the whole experience.
And explore.
Yeah,
that's the thing. If you can't combine a bit of fun with it, it's going to be a harder journey, isn't it? I think you've got to bring in something that you enjoy, puts a smile on your face, makes it a lot easier to do. But for people that have the ability to work, either 1 day, 2 days from home, if you make that work from home day a Monday or a Friday, then you can make a long weekend down in your investment area, up in your investment area. And then you're ready to go when you're, not at your corporate role, because we can work from anywhere now. If you've got that luxury that your employer allows you, there's loads of little hacks, isn't there, that we can make use of our time.
And I'm quite lucky. We've got offices all over the country as well. So, I can hot desk in a local office, and that might be something you consider. If you're working the job, what offices does my company have around the country, and you can maybe do work within the business for half a day or whatever, and bookend your day around viewings or your property activity.
And you only have to go as fast as your goals require you to go as well. So, I guess when you're first starting out, there's an awful lot more effort that goes into it because you've got to build those relationships up. But I know from my experience, having, started our investments up in Merseyside, we were up there all the time. And then we were doing 10, 12 viewings a day and, really packing it all in. But as that knowledge of the area became better, we became more efficient at viewing. We became far more efficient at knowing the agents and being able to get the best out of them. We would build relationships with other investors in the area so that they might go and view something for me, or my builder might go and view something for me. So unless you start, you don't know all of these things are at your disposal.
Yeah, like you say, it's like starting anything, there is that inertia and that extra effort and activity to invest at the beginning. But again, that's so necessary, to create that mindset shift, I think. But yeah, ultimately, once you're up and running, it becomes much more efficient because you have so much knowledge of the area that you can, you're able to make decisions ultimately from less information because you've got the security of the experience and knowledge of the area. So yeah, it's much easier once you've made that initial commitment.
So there's going to be people listening to us saying, oh yeah, but I've got football on a Monday night and then I, go to darts on a Thursday and well, I've got a young child. So, how do I actually fit all this in reality? I mean, what would you say to someone like that?
But again, it's just, what's important to you? Who do you want to be as an individual? What life do you want? And are you willing to commit to that? Because if you're not going to make yourself a priority, and you're just going to continue with your life, which you're clearly dissatisfied with, otherwise you would be looking at change. Who do you want to be and what life do you want to be is ultimately the question, the hard question that you need to ask yourself. And if you're happy with the status quo, fabulous. But if you want to change, you have to commit to the change and, prepare to change as a person, as an individual. And, you've got to just take a long, hard look at yourself, I would say. And because you'll regret it, when you're 65 or whatever, and,
your pension age
relying on the state pension, if that still exists or whatever, and, you're struggling to meet these commitments and you can't turn the gas boiler on because Keir Starmer's cut your winter fuel allowance, what then? So, just take responsibility for your future self.
Yes, absolutely. So have you got any other tips or tricks for people that want to get started that, made it a lot easier for you to actually make this happen?
I think one thing that's been useful for me as a general growth principle, I would say, is meditation. I've started to meditate over the last few years, and I've noticed a massive shift in my perspective on things through meditation, and also I'm much calmer as an individual, I would say, and I'm able to handle so much more. Actually, yeah, it shocks me sometimes how I don't react to things that I would previously react. Just being aware of my emotions and understanding my emotions. If you're able to control your mind, basically, you're much more able to perform and deliver. But basically, without action, without taking the first step, you won't achieve anything.
None of it will happen. None of it will happen if you don't start.
So, yeah, it's just basically, go for it, take the plunge. What's the worst can happen? So yeah, embrace the change.
So, I mean, from your perspective, James, there's been a lot around mindset, which, is pretty much 90% of everything, isn't it? I think the techniques and the tools are are there and everything in terms of actual technical property and learning about property. But without that mindset, it definitely doesn't work. But from a little practical perspective, what sort of things just helped you along the way? Was it joining, networking down where you invested? How did you make those trips efficient? Was there any sort of little hacks that you can share?
Yeah, I say getting involved in like an accountability network, really. I think, buddying up with people going through the same sort of thing and checking in with them and holding them to account and holding yourself to account. I think because doing it on your own can is much harder than working with others, I would say. And then, make a plan, make maybe a 3-month or 4-month plan, have a clear plan, a clear goal, and, a strategy to achieve that goal, have that written down on paper. And, that makes the daily tasks towards that goal so much easier because you can see the outcome that you'll achieve if you commit to those daily tasks.
And stick at it. It's sticking at it, isn't it? Consistent, everyday action, no matter how small. As you said, you work on your business every day and keep it going. So what can it lead to, James? You've been doing this for a number of years now, whilst holding and successfully building your career. Where can people expect this to take them if they do property as a sideline to their main career?
Well, I think it opens up a whole other world, really, because, your circle will change, your network will change, the people that you interact with will change, and, they will grow with you. And I'm getting involved in other businesses now, which is super exciting. So I'm taking those skills that I've got from my corporate life and the property life and applying those skills to other opportunities now. So all of that is super exciting. And it's basically opens up a whole world of accountability.
It's like the blinkers get taken off, isn't it? And suddenly you can see amazing opportunities and good ideas left, right and center. And sometimes it's hard to kind of keep those shiny pennies and see which ones are the real ones. But it can be a really exciting time, can't it? Because you're basically taking back control and using your skills and building up a little team around you of people that are like-minded, that you can go off and achieve, other things. So you've started a new business that's not property related, haven't you, outside of the career and property? So you're taking on even more.
Yeah, right. I've chosen to invest in another company with 2 other individuals. And, again, it's as an owner of the business, my role is really just to make sure that it's growing as expected. I'm not doing any of the day-to-day. But I'm using the management skills that I've developed over the years to apply to that business to make sure it's growing and it's a success. So and open to other opportunities as well.
Fantastic. So I think, I think hopefully what we have demonstrated today is that no matter what your starting position is, if you are wanting to keep hold of your career in corporate through fulfillment that it gives you or the security that it allows you and your family, that is definitely not a barrier to an alternative income stream, whether that be through property or something different. Obviously, property is the thing that we love and that's the thing that we're passionate about, but it could be anything. So there is not a barrier. It's literally just starting and doing small actions every day, keeping accountable, having the right people around you, and a real work on that mindset to make it happen. And James, you are absolute proof that this can be done, that it can be done really successfully. And, it's been amazing watching what you've been up to over the last few years. You put us to shame half the time. But, for just to add some context into this, James and I have known each other for probably nigh on 40 years, which makes us both feel
unbelievable. But no, like Seb, you were inspiration to me and Rick as well, and Caroline and Nick, you were inspiration to me. So, we feed off each other.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? So, I think to sum up what we've learned today, Is it a risk to do an alternative income stream when you're working full time? It's far more of a risk not to. Is it possible? Absolutely. You know, it is definitely possible, and it just takes a bit of effort. And yes, the short-term effort will be bigger, but the long-term effort, you know, you'll be in a pattern of momentum and keeping that going. And the rewards are financial security.
The rewards are, they are financial. That's why we're doing it. But actually, there's the growth, the personal growth opportunity really is the biggest thing for me, because, you know, you start to take control and you start to take responsibility, which ultimately is what life is about, I think.
I'm sure that you've inspired a few people to look into this a bit further, James, and take it to the next step. If people want to get in touch with you, how will they find you?
Yeah, the best option really is Instagram. So James Horgan Property, that's Horgan. Yeah, James Horgan Property. Yeah, that's the best place.
Amazing. So do get onto Insta and give James a follow. And if you are looking to, you know, sideline property business alongside your corporate career, and you feel that you need a bit of a community around you, head to our website, thispropertylife.co.uk. We've got a couple of membership options just to keep you close to the fire, the property fire, and, you know, to keep you accountable, to give you a network where you can, you know, find future business partners and just share the load whilst you are building up a property portfolio whilst working full time. So thank you very much for listening, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks, Ed.